There are few places in today's society that can be truly counted as desolate and isolated from the outside world. But in the lakes of northern Minnesota, one finds themselves surrounded by vast expanses of pure nature. How did this come to be? Let's take a look at the magic of the Boundary Waters and discover the lure of the interesting place that is Voyageurs National Park. At Voyagers, visitors are surrounded by water, but it wasn't always this way. In fact, the lakes at Voyagers were created by volcanoes. What happened to the terrain of northern Minnesota millions of years ago was due to the ash and lava from the explosive volcanic activity around the ring of present-day Lake Superior. As time passed, the volcanic remnants hardened into rock and were slowly eroded away over thousands of years. However, it would be the effects of Earth's most recent ice age that gave the area the landscape seen today. As glaciers raced down from the poles and covered Canada and the upper half of the United States, the eroded rocks of northern Minnesota were caught up in the rush. When temperatures warmed up, the glaciers retreated back to their icy lair in the Arctic. But as they did, they carved holes in the ground, which were filled up by the melting of snow and ice during and after glacial retreat. One other factor that played into the formation of the Minnesotan lakes was the dissipation of the glacial lake Agassi. This huge lake spanned a large portion of central Canada and northern Minnesota, and water drained into the many smaller lakes as Agassi receded with the glaciers. This is how the Midwest's 5 Great Lakes were formed, and this is how many of the lakes in Voyageurs National Park were formed as well. Once the melting was completed, humans crossing over from the Bering Land Bridge in Alaska made their way down into the modern-day United States and Canada, and lived in the forests and lakes left by the volcanoes and glaciers. This would be around 10,000 years ago, with most tribes being nomadic, and traveling around the lakes to hunt for food, a similar experience that can be enjoyed today by scouts and other outdoor groups that go on trips in the lakes of the Boundary Waters. Another group that also explored the lakes were the people who gave the park its name, French Voyagers. These men were hardy, strong, and sought adventure deep in the North American backcountry. Seeking out furs to supply Europeans on the East Coast and in Europe, hunting trips would often take several months, trading with American Indians, sleeping under the stars, and pondering their unknown futures. While it does seem optimistic and spiritual, and to some extent it was, most groups involved got a positive outcome of the experience, the Voyagers' arrival meant that Western civilization wasn't far behind. The 19th century saw the rise of industry, and miners, loggers, and fishermen flocked to the Voyagers' old hunting grounds to exploit the place for resources. The lakes also became a retreat for the wealthy, with many people constructing lake houses in the woods or promoting the area as a tourist hotspot. By the time the early 20th century rolled around, the progressive conservationist movement had taken charge, and Minnesota was caught up in the flow. Established in 1917, Kabetokama State Forest was the first step towards the creation of Voyageurs National Park. However, the area had some other purposes before it became a national park in 1975. Particularly, it was a good place to smuggle alcohol into the United States during Prohibition. Using biplanes, booze, and all sorts of alcoholic beverages were imported secretly into Minnesota for anxious drinkers. The operations got shut down when Prohibition ended in 1933, but the legacy of the cunning men and women who attempted to get alcohol into America lives on. As a public courtesy, RAC Adventures does not support the drinking of alcoholic beverages until you are 21 years of age. Now, back to the video. Today, the national park is a fun experience that can be enjoyed year-round. In the winter, ice fishing and snowshoeing are popular, and when the snow and ice melts in the spring, several hiking trails like the Echo Bay and Beaver Pond trails allow visitors to get stunning vistas of the wildlife and scenery at the park. But the main feature at Voyagers are the lakes, and to truly experience the aquatic side of the park, visitors must get on a boat and paddle out into the wilderness to discover what lies within the park's interior. Beavers, long established in the area, build iconic dams that stretch across the landscape and are a fun surprise for excited visitors. Moose and wolves also live in the park and are a lucky find for eagle-eyed viewers. Speaking of eagles, Voyagers is classified as an important birding area, meaning not only eagles but over 200 species of birds can be found in this magical northern paradise. When the sun goes down over the hills and valleys, look up to the skies. There lies the Aurora Borealis, commonly known as the Northern Lights, a spectacle of light and colors that flash through the night. The lights are best seen in winter when the night is longest, so if you're looking for the lights, plan accordingly. Voyageurs National Park is vast, not only in area, but in legacy. An active geological past that combines with an exciting and spiritual historical tale makes for an amazing experience in the present that leaves visitors awestruck at every special site. Thanks for watching RAC Adventures, make sure to subscribe for more great content, and we'll see you next time.